That's Retro Fandango. That's Retro Fandango. When it's Android over iPhone, and you can keep your stupid amiibo and always bashing on Nintendo. But that's Retro Fandango. That's Retro Fandango. Thanks, Retro Fandango. Wow.
Remove. There we are.
Now, for all of the first, second, third, fourths here, you guys just missed out on a very faithful reenactment of the Beat the Bandy Beat Off challenge.
That's what we were doing. It was all humor. That's right. We were doing a parody of that show.
I was so looking forward to making fun of Matt, and now I can't say anything.
What was going on over there? You couldn't hear me, then I couldn't hear you, and then
I don't know.
And then you disappeared. It was like, where are you?
I went back in, and I don't know, the link wasn't working or something. I don't know. I don't know. I can't say anything.
Well, speaking of Beat the Bandy, let's just say the Cartridge Club is playing Sewer Shark this month. Mm-hmm. Then I got to plug on May 27th, I will be on the LeBrain train. We'll be talking about Tenacious D. So
right.
On Friday, May 27th, Tenacious D. That's next weekend. All right, let's talk about Beat the Bandy. Did you? I saw that you had watched it. I got to experience it live.
Oh, see, I was at work. I waited till I came back, and I was like, "Ooh, this is like an hour long. This is going to be juicy. This must be some competition. They're really going at it."
It was. So if anyone is not in the know, the Beat the Bandy, if you don't know, it's a little challenge that they put over in the Retro Nonsense Discord. And they usually play a Nintendo game or an Atari game or something like that. Sometimes it's a high score. This time, Matt Bandy did something different where they played a number of NES games, and they all counted towards some points, and they ended up in a tie. So it was a tie between Matt Bandy, who runs the show, and Duke, who is one of the co-hosts of the Retro Nonsense.
I thought you were going to say who is the star of the show.
I was getting there. Well, he's the guy that Matt Bandy loses to every month. And,
that's fair.
So they tied. They ended up in a tie because Matt Bandy decided not to go with a high score and went with this different route. So they ended up beating all the games. And then they were going to have what we like to call in the chat, we called it a beat off. And they were supposed to play, well, what the heck was it? Oh, balloon fight. They're supposed to play balloon fight against each other because apparently they're evenly matched in that game. And the spoiler alert, if you haven't watched it already, there were the technical issues. The game was called on account of technical issues. It's like in baseball. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, sometimes it rains. Well, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and sometimes you try to play a Nintendo product online. And that's what you get. We got a lot of people here in the chat. We got Rocket Sauce, Sarkis Sim. I got Kings over here. Duke himself having a good time. There we go.
Hey Duke, while you're here, what's going on with the Beat the Bandy challenge for this month?
I think Matt Bandy was supposed to pick after they did this thing. He was supposed to pick another game. But
we got to wait until this whole thing gets settled first.
I think they can only handle one challenge at a time.
So this is it for the best.
When this is done, then they'll be moving on. I got Kings here. Hello. Okay. Well, I don't know if it was a hot mess. Duke is really hard on himself. I thought that the episode I thought it turned out really well because we were just having a good old time. It felt like my first experience of something like that was the writer's strike in the late 80s, and I used to record David Letterman, and Letterman was just, his shows were totally off the cuff during that writer's strike. And stuff would go wrong and all that. And the shows ended up better than his scripted comedy because of the, just tragedy. Tragedy is kind of funny at times, tragedy and comedy go hand in hand. And we had a good old time over in the chat. So
Yeah, that was Duke's got a good point there. Thank God for Mother Brain in the chat. The chat
Yes.
was keeping that place alive.
Yes,
Keeping
Mother
that place
Brain
pumping.
was the champion of the chat, man. She was keeping up. She was rolling with the punches there. She was
Hmm.
that was something else.
Actually, remind me of that time we had Chris Roberts, the co-host of the Retro Nonsense podcast, on this program once, and he was having such Wi-Fi trouble that he was traveling all around California trying to find a PC that would work,
Right.
and that was the most interesting part of the show.
Well, we talked about that was the Quentin
I don't
Tarantino
remember what
episode,
the
wasn't it?
show was about, but
I think it was
we
Quentin Tarantino.
was
We had a
it?
good time. We had a good time. It was all right.
Hmm.
Yeah, but
Well,
sometimes that's funny. That's more fun.
oh yeah. Redo
So,
this Sunday, 8:30 p.m. Duke and Matt going at it one more time.
okay. So this Sunday. So in 2 days.
Sunday,
Sure.
May 22nd, 8:30 p.m.
Eastern Standard Time. Check it out. Are you guys did you guys test things? Maybe we should have had Duke on. I didn't know he was going to be available, but
Well,
you
from
guys
what I
should
gather, Duke is
test.
fine. It's the other half.
Well, I was trying to give a little bit of help there in the chat, and the thing to do is to turn everything off, like just turn it all off and then turn it all back on, and sometimes that helps, but I don't think my advice was getting through. I don't know if it would have helped, but there's
I
Mike.
went into the thing.
Hey,
Hey,
Mike.
good afternoon. What time is it?
Yeah,
Oh,
it is
okay.
afternoon
That's
here.
right.
Yeah.
Well, I was going into it pretty neutral. May the best man win, but now I feel so much sympathy for Matt. I think I'm in his court now.
I admit, like I like Duke a lot, but I have this tendency to to root for the underdog.
Cheer. Yeah.
That's my thing. So I at the end of the day, what I really want was a close match. Ultimately, that's what you want when you're a fan of something. Like if you're a fan of the game more than the team, that's what you want. You want something close because that's way more fun.
No. No. Unless this is all clever strategy on Matt's part. Maybe he went into it knowing, like, I got a little sympathy for myself. I try to swing things in my favor.
Yeah, or
How can
maybe
I
he's
make
doing,
myself look lovable?
or maybe he's doing the Seinfeld thing. He's choosing not to not to play.
I choose not to play.
Choose not to play. Well. Oh, I see. Okay, so Duke is saying everyone loves a good underdog story, which means if he wins, Duke let him win for the sake of the show. I see. All right. Yeah, I see. And Dean's here. Oh my goodness, the whole gang is
Hey,
here.
Dean.
Yeah. Well, now that I got everybody here, I might as well let everybody know the big story. Well, it's not really a big story, but the last time I recorded, we were over here in our home. We were in COVID lockdown because Sarah got herself the COVID. She caught it on the she tested positive on Wednesday morning, and she was feeling fine that Wednesday morning, but she had a little bit of a sore throat. I said, well, you better do a rapid test. And we got them all over the place here now, rapid tests. You can get them everywhere. And she took 2 and tested positive both times. So I was at work, and I'm not supposed to be at work if I'm in the same household with someone who has COVID. So I told work, and they're like, well, you're kind of by yourself in your room over there, so you should be okay for a little while. So, just work the next few hours and then go home. I'm like, okay, great.
Did you tell work by standing like 2 feet away from them?
Well, I called my boss is never like around. He's always somewhere in the building, so you have to call him on his cell phone, right? That's the only way you're going to get a hold of him. And I told him, I'm like, yeah, my wife tested positive. And he's like, oh no. And I'm like, yeah, she just has a bit of a sore throat now, blah, blah. And I'm like, so I don't know what to do now. And he's like, I don't know what to do now either. I'm like, oh, this is good. But we got in contact with the right people.
It's a good thing that your work had 2 years to prepare for the situation, and the response is, "I don't know what to do."
I don't know what to do. Yeah. Well, we got in contact with the right people who kind of knew what to do, and they just told me to sit in the room for a few hours and wait for somebody to come in and relieve me. But by the time I got home, I think I left work at 10:30. By the time I got home at 11:30 or whatever, I told Sarah we're like, what are we gonna do? Like, this is gonna be weird. Like, I'm gonna have you locked up in a room in the house. It's gonna be odd. But I'm like, okay, well, I can't. Like, we always said, like, if one of us gets COVID, the other one's going to get it. It's just going to happen. There's absolutely no way that we can protect each other. But I said, well, at least give me some time to catch up with everything. Like, we were at the we were out, I think, the weekend before. So we did grocery shopping like on Friday, right? The Friday before. So we were kind of getting close. Like, we go once a week. So it was the Wednesday. So we're kind of getting close to running out of groceries and stuff. And there was just some laundry and whatnot. I don't want to get sick. Like, give me a day to get caught up with all the chores and everything before I get sick. So we actually sequestered her into our bedroom. She brought in everything that she would need. And we have an ensuite into the bathroom. So she stayed in that part of the house. And then when I got home, did I go grocery shopping right away or the next morning? I can't remember which, but basically over the next day and a half, I just did laundry, got caught up with the groceries and just putting stuff away and all that stuff. So we were ready for, because we were just prepared for us to both get sick, to both be down for the count at the same time.
Where's the footage of all this? I want to see the Mr. Mom-esque battle between you and the laundry, going grocery shopping, trying to pick out cereal.
Well, and the funny thing too is, like, Sarah normally does not let me do laundry. She does not like the way I do laundry.
You put too much in.
I put too much stuff into the machine, and she doesn't like that. And just like maybe 2 weeks before this happened, I was running out of hoodies, and she's like really busy at work and stuff right now. And I'm like, I need some hoodies. Just send me like a Google Doc of what to do with the washing machine. And she did. She sent me a Google Doc, and like maybe 2 weeks before, I relearned how to work the washing machine and all that. And
I have a memo. Literally have a memo on my phone explaining how to use the washing machine.
Yeah, the right way.
The right way.
Yes.
Have I mentioned this before? It's like there's 2 rinse cycles on my washer, and when you turn the machine on, the 2 is highlighted. And I'm like, okay, 2, good. My wife said, no, that's not the real 2. You gotta push the button, and it goes like this, doot 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 doot, and then it becomes 2 again, and that's the right 2. It's like, it's on the wrong 2.
Yeah. Well, the last time I did laundry, we had a completely different washing machine too. This was like my first time using. And Sarah walked me through it a long time ago. I couldn't remember anything. Anyways,
I remember from when I was a kid, and you had to like turn the big dial.
Yep. Yeah. Well, that's what we still have on our dryer, and that was our old washing machine. And we tried to buy another one like that because it lasted like almost 20 years, maybe 15 years. I don't know. It lasted a long time, and all this new technology and everything that they add to these machines, they're all just planned obsolescence. Like, they're just ready to go at some point. Already our washing machine is giving us attitude, and it's only 4 years old now. But it's because it's got all this extra like sensor stuff in it, and it was like the simplest washing machine that we could buy. It doesn't have it has one dial on it and a couple of buttons, and it doesn't have like all the like they all come with like all these sensors and everything now, and that, and I don't know, it's 3.5 years old, and Sarah hates it. There you go. Look at that. Anyways,
she hates the guy that's washing her clothes.
So I washed so I did all the washing and all that. Grocery shopping, and made sure to get, like, she had a sore throat, so I got like the the puddings and the soft foods, and I got a little bit of ice cream. Even though she wasn't really into eating that much, and simple stuff to make, like stuff from the freezer, like pre-made, like chicken fingers and macaroni and cheese and stuff like that, just simple stuff. And
so wait a minute, were you actually doing any cooking during this period?
Oh, I could, yeah, I cooked.
Microwaving and reheating things.
No, that stuff was there. So that stuff was there for when I got sick. So we were both sick, right? So
okay,
we were both sick.
Gotcha.
So in the meantime, I am making like all the stuff that we had bought before while I was still feeling good, right? I'm feeling good right now. So before I get sick, let's get this stuff out of the way. So I did all that stuff. And so that was Wednesday, and Thursday. By Friday, I'd caught up with everything. I was still feeling good. Saturday, still feeling good. I think Sunday was Mother's Day, so I was on the thing with my mom and all that. Never caught it. I never caught COVID the entire time. I don't know how, but I never got it once. So by Sunday evening, Sarah was in that room for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, for like 5 days, right? It was pretty much 5 days. We were like 4.5 days or something, if you really wanted to get technical, but you're supposed to sequester yourself for 5 days. So it was close enough, and she was starting to feel better. The most she ever got was like a mild fever, and she had a sore throat and headache, and feel achy. I mean, the thing just kind of wears you out, right? But her fever had broken on like Friday evening, Saturday morning. So it'd been a long time since she had like anything. And she was starting to feel like anxious, being in that room for that long. When she was sick, she said when she was sick, she didn't care, right? Like, I'll just lie in this bed. I don't feel like doing anything anyways. When we're starting to feel a little better, now you're starting to get like claustrophobic a little. You want to come out. And I'm like, well, let's bust you out of this room. Let's take her out. Cause it was kind of feeling weird to me too. Cause I kind of felt like that guy in Silence of the Lambs, where he had the woman locked up in the basement, and I almost put some lotion on the, on her tray, to say it rubs its lotion on its skin, or it gets the hose again.
Dude, when you started telling this story, I had a little more romantic image in my head. It's like you've got your princess in the castle. You got Rapunzel up there.
No, I'm a serial killer.
Where your mind goes.
No, so then let her out, and she kept getting better and better, and that was it. That was our adventure with COVID. And I just took a test Wednesday, and I'm still because I have to take them for work. And I'm still nothing, no COVID at all, not any symptoms or anything. And we were really worried about it too, because I was like, anytime I took any of those shots, I just felt like crap, especially the first time. Mm-hmm. And they say like the worse you feel with the vaccine, you won't feel it as much when you actually get COVID. But I don't know. I don't know how I didn't get it. I don't know.
Well, Sarah, I know you're in the chat. I'm glad you're feeling better. I hate hearing when anybody gets this. My sister, actually, I found out my sister and my other sister's husband are both suffering. They're kind of on the rebound now. They're fine, but yeah, it's kind of weird to hear like this late in the game, people starting to get it.
Yeah. Well, I think Sarah got it from work, because they had just gotten rid of, they had like a vaccine mandate at her job, and they just dropped it. So I think a lot of the unvaccinated got into her work and started spreading stuff around. And then she's in that building with recycled air. I think that was the other thing that saved us too, is that the temperature had just gotten warm enough in that I didn't really have to turn on the furnace. So if I had to turn on the furnace, that would just be blowing the air from inside that quarantine area all over the place, right? Mm-hmm. Where we were able to keep the windows open for most of the day, which they say you should do, right? You should get like fresh air.
Yeah, that's one of the best things, is just keep the place ventilated,
Yeah.
Throw those windows open. Who cares if it's cold?
Yeah, look at Mike here. He has no masks, and he's the only one wearing one.
Hmm.
Well, Sarah says that at the end of this month they're getting rid of the masks where she works, and where I work, it's still everything's locked down. Like one person in a room, everyone wears masks. If you're going out in the hallways and that, you wear masks. So it's different everywhere. But anyways, all good. We made it through somehow.
Yeah, well, just don't stop on all the protocol, Keep washing your hands, wearing those masks.
Yeah.
Stay away from everybody.
Yeah.
What do you need other people for?
Yeah, for sure. And because Sarah and I have taken a few chances. We went to a couple of rock shows. We went out to the record show. We went out to the Barrie Game Exchange. But we're always wearing masks, washing our hands. We got the sanitizer in the car, all that stuff. And I think if she got it anywhere in those places, I would have gotten it too, because we were pretty much together for the whole thing for any of those times. And apparently you have to be like with someone for quite a while before you get it. So I don't know. That's what I say. Oh, Mike, you didn't end up going to Coney Hatch. Dang it.
What's Coney Hatch?
They're a Canadian band. I'd go see them if they played around here, but they were playing in Kitchener, which is a bit of a drive for us. But yeah, there you go.
Life, huh?
Yeah.
Worst thing that happened to me is, if anyone notices, you eagle-eyed fandanglers out there, I'm using my small cup.
Oh.
Using my small cup because last week I dropped my big cup. It shattered. I was trying to get through the front door with it, and then lost my grip. You know when it happened? Friday the 13th.
Isn't it always the favorite cup? Like your favorite cup? That's always the one that breaks.
I have two. I had two. That's all I had. And well, I do like this cup. It's a good size, but when you're sitting down for something like this and you want the larger cup, the other one was almost double the size. Get a little more beverage in there.
Yeah.
So
it's always I got so many cups around here with broken handles on them because I dropped them. And it's like, what do I do? It's like I like the image on it. So then they end up becoming pen holders. But there's only so many pen holders you can have.
Yeah. I just use empty jelly jars and stuff for my pens and my paint brushes and things like that.
Yeah.
Although I do have this my mom gave me a very long time ago. This is my little Stein, and it's got foxes on it, and I use it to hold my pens.
That's cool.
It's made of pewter.
Wow, that's old school.
Yeah, I was told that you could drink out of it, but I've never been brave enough to.
Look at this. Mike has a Better Call Saul mug.
Ooh.
That'd be cool. I'm an episode behind on my Better Call Saul, so I did not watch it this week.
I'm as many episodes behind as they have produced this season. I haven't watched anything.
Is it available for you, or?
Yeah, it's there, and it's the one show that I've been waiting for. like I'm actually interested in watching, and I just haven't made the time.
It's good, man.
I don't doubt it. It's always been good. I've enjoyed every minute of that show.
Oh, man, so good. Yeah.
I'll get to it. I was watching some other things, which I don't know what's on our agenda here. What are we getting into?
Okay, well, let's just go. Let's just go.
Oh yeah. Okay, talk about this. I saw you typing this in.
Yeah.
as I was looking at it, and you started writing obnoxious people. I was like, what do you have to put that in for? We talk about our listeners every show. And then you started typing some more.
No, obnoxious people buying movies. So I keep forgetting about I don't know why I want to talk about this, but I do because it kind of I don't know. So we were at the store in Barrie. We went to a record show, and after the record show, there's like this really awesome movie store in the mall. They're not cheap, but they got like a ton of like rare stuff and all that. So if you're looking for a Burt Reynolds movie, you know, you're not going to find it at Walmart, but you probably will find it here. And the store has been kind of not open all the time. Like it's a little bit of lockdown. Like it's kind of hit or miss on when it's going to be open, because I think they had staffing problems and all that stuff. But I would keep an eye on them online. And Sarah asked, like when we went up, she's like, "You want to go to that store?" I'm like, "Well, make sure that they're open." And she checked online; they were open. So we went there, and sure enough, when we went there, they were open, which is great, because I went in there, I got a bunch of good stuff, including one of the things I'm going to talk about later. But they still had, I don't know what the deal is with the store. I don't know if one of the people running it has, you know, some sort of autoimmune problem or whatever. But when you go in there, they still require you to wear a mask and to sanitize your hands before you start looking around at stuff. Which I got
never place do that.
No, now it's kind of the
Really?
Wild West now. You know, like you go to some stores,
But at one point that was the standard, right?
Yeah. But
Okay.
I like over the last 2 months, things have become really lax. Like the stuff from the government is pretty much gone, and it's up to the store on whether or not they still want to do this stuff, right?
Mhm.
So I go into the store. I see the sanitizer. I sanitize my hands right away, and then I start, you know, looking at the stuff. And everybody coming into the store, like the person stopping them behind the counter. There was a couple of them working there behind the counter, and they'd stop and say, "Please sanitize your hands." Nobody had any problems with it, you know, sanitize hand. Of course, except for this one woman who comes in, and she comes in with her 2 kids, and the kids are like, they're wanting to go and run right to the kids section, right? And they know where it is. They've been to the store before, so they want to just go. And the mom's just like, you know, looking around. She comes in around the corner. She's just looking around, and her kids come running in. And the person behind the counter said, "Oh, sorry, everybody's going to have to sanitize their hands before they come in." And the kids were like, "Stop, no problem. Turn around." They start sanitizing their hand. The woman, like, "I don't think we have to do that anymore." And I'm like, "Oh boy, here we go." And you could tell that this person behind the counter just wasn't having it, right? She was just like, "Well, if you want to come into the store, you have to do it." But I thought we didn't have to do that anymore. She's like, "If you want to come into this store, you're going to have to. It's our policy." So then she just starts like, it was almost like as if, you know, like a little kid, when you put a little kid into their room and then they like put their 1 foot out of the room to test you to see if you could. She was just kind of like straddling, like to come, like whether or not she was going to go into the store or not. She's like, "Well, I just think we don't have to do that anymore." She keeps like inching her way in. No, her name wasn't Karen. Meanwhile, Sarah was she was next door. She was looking at Funko Pops, and I'm like, "Man, you're missing the show over here."
Can I quickly complain about that for just 1 second? Because my sister's name is Karen. She's got to deal with this for the rest of her life now.
I feel bad for every Karen out there, and I am kind of surprised. I'm a little bit surprised. I'm waiting for the day where it gets switched. Some guy is gonna do it. Like he's gonna freak out on that, and he's gonna be a Kevin. So you'll have a Karen and a Kevin. I'm waiting for the day. It might be a Kyle. It might be a Kyle. Who knows? It's going to be something with the K though. And then,
yeah, most likely.
Anyways, eventually she decided not to go into the store. She's like, "Come on, guys, let's go." And then the kids were like, "Mom, but they got, you know, I don't know, Rugrats or something like that." And the kids were like, "No, we're not buying them here. We're going to go to Walmart." You know, she just like says it really loud or whatever. Yeah, good luck finding that in Walmart. Their movie section in Walmart is like nothing now. They got hardly anything. Just the latest releases, and that's it. But still, some people, you know, just some people. It's like,
I mean, that's just those people. Give them any situation to find some reason to complain, something that bothers them, something they got to raise their voice about. Just they got to be right. They got to prove their points.
Oh, Sarah was there. Oh, okay, sure. Well, yeah. Yeah, I mean, just I to me, it's like it's just no big deal, right? Like even if like I felt like, oh, I don't need a mask, I don't need hand sanitizer. It's just courtesy for the person behind the counter, just the person that's working there.
Yeah,
They're just asking you to do
personally-
something while they're in their store. They ask you to put on a shirt, right? They ask you to put on shoes. They ask you to put on clothes, cover yourself.
Yeah, it was always, I think the smarter people about this just added that into that category. No shirt, no shoes, no service. Just throw the mask and stuff in there too. Personally, the hand sanitizer, I prefer if that sticks around forever. Just as an option for people, because one, as a store owner, I wouldn't want people coming in with their greasy, nasty fingers. So the base of what you could do, hit some sanitizer on there. Maybe it'll cut back on some of the nacho grease or whatever you got on your fingers and touching on things. And I've lived with the mask policy for 20 years now. It's just people wear them as a precaution. It's just always been that way around here. So people want to keep wearing masks, wear masks. I don't care.
I just found it funny too that her kids right away were just like, "Oh, okay," and they just put on sanitizer, and then they went to go look at their Rugrats movies. But she had a problem with it, and that the kids were okay with it because they're probably used to doing it at school. So they're closer to kindergarten age, so they got the basics. Where I think she forgot it. It's been eaten out of her skull at some point.
Anyways. Sarah brings up a good point here. People preparing my food sans mask. It's driving me insane. That is one area where I do prefer people always be wearing masks, gloves, things like that. It bugs me when I see people and their bare hands getting in the food there. And I understand that's how it's traditionally done in a lot of high quality restaurants. The chefs are back there touching the food. But I think high quality restaurants I'm a little more okay with, rather than like fast food places. They're just
well, the people there are making
teenagers.
Well, they're making minimum wage. They don't care. This is just a job to them. Whereas a chef, you imagine it's their profession. So
right, and
imagine it's a little more.
Part of the learning to be a chef is learning about sanitation and proper food handling and keeping your hands clean and stuff like that. I understand that, but
you hope.
What really gets me is when you got somebody going from the register directly to the food preparation area, and they've just been touching money and like passing things hand to hand, and then they go back there and touch your food. And
Okay. And Kyle asks if she was an American. No, she was from Barrie. That's all you need to know. She was from Barrie.
Haven't you seen Trailer Park Boys? You know what goes on in Canada.
We got like a really the rap that we have. We don't deserve it. Like I don't know how we earned that thing. Like there are some. You've seen the trucker convoys. You've seen Trailer Park Boys. Like I don't know. I don't know how we got the reputation that we do, but.
I used to have this like sparkling clean image of Canadians. Everything was all nice and polite and neat, and then
it is for the most part. For the most part, I think most people are good. If you go on the highways, it might feel a little different, but for the most part,
Trailer Park Boys and the stories I'd get about where did J Rock live? Hamilton.
Oh yeah, well,
every time people do that, you always roll your eyes when
that's a rough place. Hamilton's a working man's town. It's a working man's town. Good times.
Okay.
And then I just so I guess my other story is I rebooted my lawn. I got ambitious.
Rebooted your lawn.
I got ambitious, and I was looking at my lawn, and it's pretty pathetic. It's like really like there's a lot of dead stuff on the lawn and weeds and all that. So I got really ambitious, and I started going on YouTube and like, how can I fix this lawn? And it's funny, all the YouTube videos, most of the stuff is from the States, right? So the first thing they recommend is this weed killer. You got to get rid of all the weeds. That's step one. Get rid of all the weeds. So here's the weed killer to get. It's number one. I'm like, oh, okay. Where can I buy this? In Ontario? No, you can't get it in Ontario because we have like laws that don't allow us to buy any sort of a weed killer or weed and feed or anything like that. All we can get are fertilizers. We can't get anything. So if you want to take out the weeds, you got to do it all by hand. So that's what I pretty much did. I got rid of all the weeds, and then I got a dethatcher, So like all the dead stuff, it's called thatch. And
Okay.
basically what you gotta do is you gotta rake it all out, right? You gotta take the
Mm.
rake and just rake it. Well, it's a big job. So what I did was I got like it's a machine that basically rakes the lawn for you. It's just like a push thing and rakes up all the crap. So you go along one side, rakes it all up, and then you gotta rake it up with like a leaf rake, all the stuff that comes up. And then you gotta go the other way and go the other way and then rake it all up again. So it was good. It was good times. It was fun. I got a lot of exercise and then put a bunch of seed down. And it's been raining all week. So hopefully I'm going to have an amazing lawn. I'm starting to turn into Hank Hill. Pretty soon I'll be going on about my propane tanks and all that stuff.
I've never understood you lawn people. I've never had a lawn. I've
Yeah.
never had one of those, suburban lawn areas. We got natural growth coming up all over around here. And in our yard, there's a fair amount of grass. And if you look at it carefully, it's actually like 3 or 4 different kinds of grass. The really thin stuff, and you get the thicker stuff, and I don't know what's going on. And I just let it be what it is. I cut it back. I make sure my kids can run around out there, and I can move without tripping over stuff.
Yeah.
Whatever grows, grows. I don't care.
Yeah.
I can never focus on like I gotta get that perfect lawn.
Yeah. I wouldn't call myself it's non-existent really. Like there's really like it's gotten to the point where it's just all weeds, right? And the weeds are starting to get into parts of the lawn where I just never thought they would reach, but there they are. And I was never a lawn person before, but I just got ambitious. I just said, screw it, let's get this thing going. So,
but it's nice you're doing the seed. You're going more natural. A lot of people buy the squares of you just lay them all down. And you have like a checkerboard thing going on.
Well, the other thing too is the city updated all of our. I'm not sure if it was a town or one of the telephone companies or something, but they updated all of our internet throughout the whole town. They upgraded everything, and all of our we don't have telephone poles in our neighborhood. Everything's underground. So they had to go underground. So they kind of tore up my front lawn in a few places to do this thing. And they said that they were going to, oh, don't worry. Like we're going to go in and we're going to do all this stuff. But in the spring, we're going to replace the lawn that we tear up. I'm like, okay, so I'm going to get a few free pieces of sod. That'll be all right. And all they did was throw down grass seed. Like, well, so that kind of motivated me to kind of like, well, if that part of the lawn is crap, this seems like a good time to just reboot it. So
you got to go find that lady from the record store, and you got to like have her negotiate these things for you when the city comes through.
Right? Yeah.
She's probably got a really nice lawn.
I thought about raising a stink, but I was like, I don't care, because like to me, like it's really rude. Like if I was to ruin my neighbor's lawn for some reason, like something happened or whatever, or I had to dig it up because, we had to redo some pipes or something like that, I would replace their lawn with sod. I wouldn't just throw down grass seed. My own lawn, I wouldn't care. But if it was my neighbor's, I'd do that. So I just thought that was very rude of that company. And now they're going around today asking people to sign up for their internet service. I'm like, no, thanks. If this is the way you treat lawns, how do you treat the internet? So I no, thank you. I'll stay with my my independent service. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, let's see the goods. You said you picked some stuff up. I want to know, what is that poster? There's a framed poster behind you leaning up against your shelf there. I can't quite make it out.
It's Mario.
Mario?
Yeah.
You did not buy a framed Mario picture.
I did.
Oh, you did.
No, I didn't. I didn't buy it. So this is a few years old. This was the one of the Club Nintendo posters.
Club Nintendo.
Yeah. So.
Well, Duke woke up. He said the magic word.
Yeah. So they used to, when you bought Nintendo games, you would get Club Nintendo points, and you put them in a thing, and they would give you free stuff. They would give you stuff with Nintendo points. So I'd always get the posters. But I moved stuff around. Excuse me, I moved stuff around. You might notice it cleaned up a little. Look how clean this is back here.
It's looking nice. I still see that trucker hat nicely on display.
Well, yeah, that's on display. Got my trucker hat, and Dean gave me that remote, that Xbox controller. It says Retro Fandango on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you've seen it.
Yeah, I remember seeing that one. Oh, showing off the legs.
Look at that. That's pretty cool.
Retro Fandango. That is, to the best of my knowledge, the only existing piece of Retro Fandango merchandise.
Yes.
Anything.
That's it right there. Unless we start doing NTFs online, and then you can sell that logo. Oh, Duke's upset because it's not Retro Fandango. Oh my goodness. Well, yeah. So, yeah, those stupid posters. I got a whole bunch of them. I should probably sell them. They're probably worth something because they're directly from Nintendo. So
They come framed, or you stuck them in the frame?
I had frames that I got at Michael's, and I was actually looking to put something in them. I had these frames, and I'm like, those posters just fit in it just right. So I got a bunch of them. I got a Zelda one and a Donkey Kong one and a whole bunch of them. But
I have a Resident Evil poster in a frame.
They're slowly coming down because I got better stuff. Evil Dead and Smokey and the Bandit 1 and 2.
Ooh,
that's right. Donate them to Dean. Maybe I will. I don't know.
Put them in Dean's museum.
That's right. Yeah, that's pretty cool, that museum. I like that. He's been talking about that for a while. I think it's a library, though, right? He calls it a library.
It's an interactive library.
It's pretty cool.
Oh, Resident Evil movie, of course.
Yeah.
It's got Mila Jovovich. Her name is Alice.
All right. What have we been watching? We're ready for it. Let's get into the movies and TV. We should do a bumper. We should have a bumper.
Well, we got Duke in the chat. He can sing us a song live.
Duke, make us a bumper. Get on that. That'd be awesome. If you got us 2 songs and STC Pod still does not have one. It's extra salt in that wound.
Well, you got to remember, when he made that song, he said it was a tribute to his favorite podcast.
And he said he wouldn't make one for any other podcast. He doesn't even have one for his own.
That's true.
Ours. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, last time we talked, you mentioned you had watched The Fifth Element.
Yes.
Back to that, to give it a second shot, a fair chance.
I did.
And no lie, I was in the same boat. I was really in the mood to revisit that movie right around the same time, because I had seen it for the first time a couple of years back, and I was not impressed. But there was that little part of me that was like, "Oh, see you later."
See ya.
That I was like, maybe I was being unfair. Let me check it out again.
Yep.
So I just finished watching it last night, and I totally agree with everything that you said about the the story doesn't make any sense. Why is it a big secret? Why wouldn't you tell anybody about this? Seems like everybody believes you right away. Now, there's all this drama that was unnecessary, but of course that's the movie. Gotta have who is this? It's a mystery. What are these stones? How do you open them and all that stuff? So yeah, tons of problems with that movie, but
I was waiting for the but.
I actually did enjoy it quite a bit. I guess knowing what it is helps quite a bit, because I was probably hard on it because it was not what I wanted from a movie. It just what it was. But knowing that it wasn't, fantastic from my perspective, costumes are great. Set design was great. Lots of fun animatronics and fake heads and things like that. I like Bruce Willis's apartment, of how it just looks like some cargo container, and everything is kind of cheap in the future. Lots of little world building things, the circles on the walls everywhere, that whenever you're in trouble, you have to put your hands up on these circles, which, it tells you a lot about the world. I thought it was kind of a fun sit through the second time. Still tons of problems, but I'm more on board now.
Well, I didn't have any fun with it. I still don't get it. Like it's one of those movies I don't get.
It's like overly simplistic to a fault. You know, the magic stones and how do you open them, and the power of love and all that stuff. It's just so goofy, but there's a weird style to it. Even
Well,
the
it's French.
yeah, it's got that French style. It reminds me a bit of I forget, is it the same director? The City of Lost Children. That's
Don't
another
know.
goofy movie. Ron Perlman's in that one.
Yeah,
I don't know.
if it was a comedy, like and I was laughing, I
Well, that's the
wouldn't.
thing. It's kind of in between. There are moments that are comedic, stylistically comedic, but it never goes real comedy. So it's serious at sometimes, really goofy at sometimes. It's right
Like
there in
if
the
it
middle.
like if it was a satire, like for instance, there's these stones, right? And these
Mm.
stones have all the power, and these stones are there to unlock a power that will stop this thing that happens every, what was it, 3,000 years or 5,000
5,000
years?
years, something like that. Yeah.
Something comes in, it's going to wipe everything out on Earth. So these stones unlock this power into this person, the fifth element, and that will stop this thing. And if there was something, that I could sink my teeth into, like some sort of overlying satire about, not keeping secrets and working together, and if it had like some sort of statement, something to say about something like that, some sort of message that it was trying to convey, then it would make sense to me. I'm like, okay, there's, this is a commentary, some sort of social commentary. But I don't know, there wasn't, like,
No,
at the end of it,
it just ends up being kind of a goofy movie. In that it doesn't quite fit this way, it doesn't quite fit that way. It's
yeah, like
somewhere
it's in,
lost in the middle.
yeah. See, and to me, it just doesn't do any of those things well. Like it's like, getting a, I don't know, a station wagon. It's gonna be, well, station wagon is, it's a good car, but it's not a great car. It's a good storage vehicle, but it's not a great van. It's in between. It does both, but it doesn't excel at either. Right? You're not going to get
Mm.
great gas mileage like you would with a good car. You're not going to get as much storage space as you would with a van. So you got to settle for this thing in between.
Yeah, and then that's why I'm okay with it. It's not A, it's not B, but it's somewhere in there that if I'm sitting down, I was like, all right, it's fine. I'm not gonna watch it every month or anything.
I'll
It's
never
okay.
watch it again. I'm done with that movie. I don't get. I'm put me in the don't get it camp.
I will
But
put it into the category of Bruce Willis was actually trying when he made that movie. That was back in the 90s.
yeah,
I just watched another movie with him called Red.
that's been
You know
on
this
my,
one?
like. Well, I see it and I'm like, do I want to watch that
Yeah,
or not?
yeah, it's one of those movies. I'll tell you this: it's one of the laziest movies I've ever seen.
Mm,
It's pretty bad. I would absolute. Maybe that's why The Fifth Element was so refreshing, watching that after
mm,
Red. This is. I know Bruce Willis has got the he just announced he's retiring from acting. He's got some
yeah,
sort of condition, aphasia, something
yeah,
like that. I'm really not familiar with it, but it's a genuine disability, that's preventing him from
yep.
communicating, is what it is, like speaking or communicating. So I know he's got that going on. This movie is from 2010, I believe. So I don't know how much of that was present at that time, but you know that there's also just a matter of him not trying, not really caring. That's kind of been
Phoning it in, as the kids would say.
yeah, he not even though. Not even
Wow.
phoning it in. It's basically just standing there and doing the minimum amount of effort required.
Yeah.
Um, really bad. There's a ton of other older actors in it. You got Morgan Freeman, you got John Malkovich, Richard Dreyfuss. They're all kind of in there a little bit, and maybe John Malkovich is kind of trying and having fun with the movie to the best that he can, but most of the other people in there are just they're phoning it in. And I don't know who this lead actress is that they got to be his like love interest partner through thing, but she is just terrible. It's like it's surprisingly bad acting for a major motion picture.
Mm.
So if you're on the fence about that one, I'd say you could skip it.
Well, they even made a sequel. There's a Red 2.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Well, the last modern movie I saw Bruce Willis in was that remake of Death Wish, and that thing was terrible. It was awful.
Yeah, I mean, he's got some great ones in his library there, but
Look at
Duke
this.
saw it. Red 2 was even worse.
Is even worse. I can't. What was the last
lazy
good...
filmmaking? It's one of those things where it's like Bruce Willis is in a room and there's a guard watching him, and then you just cut to like he's outside a door, and then somebody knocks on the door, and the guy Richard Dreyfuss is inside. He opens it up, and then there's Bruce Willis, and the guard is on the floor unconscious. Like they don't show anything. It's all just this implied that he does stuff, and like lazy.
I have a theory that there's only two good Bruce Willis movies. There's
Die Hard and
The Sixth Sense.
Still never seen that one.
I just picked it up on DVD because it was I want to see it again, and it's never like I never catch it on TV or anything like that.
I am curious to watch that other one again. What's the one he did with the one after that? Unbreakable, yeah. I know I saw it years ago, and I didn't have too many strong opinions about it, but I've repeatedly seen that come up on people's like favorite movie list. It's like, oh, Unbreakable. It's great.
I've never seen it. I actually found a copy of it on DVD. It was like this special 2-disc edition, and it came with like this fold-out thing and all that. And I'm like, oh, I'm finally gonna watch Unbreakable, so I'll grab that. And then maybe I didn't get around to it, and then last week or the week before, I found it on Blu-ray. So now I got 2 copies of it, and I still haven't watched it. But I've invested like $5 into the movie so far because the DVD was $2 and the Blu-ray is $3. So
better start watching.
Yeah, better get on it. Hopefully, I like it. So then there'll be 3 Bruce Willis movies that I like. I can't think. What else?
Done?
What else? I mean, there's
Hudson Hawk.
I've never seen that. I don't
even know what that is. I just remember the name. Come on, he's got to have been in something. He was in Pulp Fiction.
He was in Pulp Fiction, but I hated every scene that he was in. His part of the movie was complete garbage in my view.
Right,
the rest of the movie was better.
Bruce Willis filmography.
So, Looper.
All right, we got Die Hard. We got Sixth Sense. Red, Fifth Element, Armageddon, Pulp Fiction.
No.
Die Hard 4.0.
Anything other than the first Die Hard, not watching it.
The Last Boy Scout.
I hated that movie. That was terrible. I can't believe I bought it.
He's in the Expendables movies.
Was he in the first one?
He's in the first 2, I believe.
Actually, you know what? I didn't like the Expendables.
They're not good movies.
No.
Fun idea, but not good movies. 12 Monkeys.
I'll give that a meh. I
had to stop watching that one.
It's Terry Gilliam.
Yeah. Cop Out. That one's supposed to be notoriously bad.
That's Kevin Smith.
That's the Kevin Smith one.
I remember it being okay, but it was more Tracy Morgan than Bruce Willis. But
Death Becomes Her.
No, I haven't seen that.
I've never seen. Actually, there's a ton of Bruce Willis movies I've never seen. Mercury Rising, The Whole 9 Yards.
Oh, I hated that movie.
G.I. Joe 2. Oh, here's one. Okay. This is a great movie. Sin City.
Yeah, that's good. Who does he play in it? I don't remember.
He plays Hardigan. He plays Bruce Willis, doing Bruce Willis voice.
Right.
And just kind of not emoting. And he's perfect for that character.
Mm.
There
Okay.
you go.
Oh, yeah.
Well, but watch Unbreakable. Maybe then you'll have another
I might have
film
3.
you can see.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about Moonlighting? You like Moonlighting?
I was too young for that show.
Hmm.
When I missed it. All right, what's next? What do we got? Suicide Squad.
Oh yeah, I watched. I did finish watching that one. I turned it off several times because I was like, I'm not getting into this. I'm talking about the newer
new
one.
one. Right. Yeah.
The James Gunn directed one. But I eventually finished it off, and sure, it's fine. It's all right. In many ways, it's pretty good. I mean, there's definitely some style and a director's voice behind this one. I guess I'm just I don't know. Some of it is like the contemporary comedy stylings that I don't really care
Mhm.
for.
Yeah.
Certain phrases that constantly get brought up and like joking phrases like this line is just a punchline kind of thing. And I don't know. One of the issues I had with the movie was that it was predictable in its unpredictability, if that makes sense. It's like
Yeah.
the movie is making you think it's going to go this
You're waiting
way,
for the
but then
twist,
it's going
right?
to go that way,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's going to go that way, and then it goes that way, and then you're like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
you,
It's
you
like when
didn't
someone
surprise me.
yeah, I totally get that because sometimes you're just sitting there, you okay, and you're like, yeah, there's going to be a twist. I'm not 100% sure exactly what or where it's going to be, but I just know there's
Yes,
going to be a twist coming up.
and there are several moments like that where I'd say I talked about that Firefly show not too long ago,
Yeah.
and Joss Whedon did that a lot in there, where you think you're going this way, and then he's like, "Oh, okay, we're going this way." And there were a lot of times in there it actually caught me. It was like, "Oh, that's nice." They made you think they're doing the predictable thing, and then they went in a different direction. But nowadays, that's so common that it's like the predictable thing is going in the different direction, and I don't know. And not really big spoilers. There's just one thing that also didn't quite work for me is I don't know, Harley Quinn. I know her from the Batman animated series, which is where she was created for that show,
That's
right?
right. Yeah.
And then she went on to become one of the biggest DC characters of all time. But I kind of had a certain image of her character based off that show. I don't know what they've done with her in the comics and since then, but she was never like an action character to me. She was more, she was the Joker sidekick. She was unpredictable.
Hmm.
She was like she doesn't look menacing, but then occasionally she'd actually get the drop on Batman.
Right.
She'd have some kind of little thing like, oh, he wasn't expecting that. And then she's out. She escapes. She does something. She's got like an action scene straight out of John Wick in this movie. And it's like, it's a well done scene, but it just doesn't feel like her character to me. But at the same time, again, I don't know what they've done with her, but
Yeah. I guess it's a different take. I'm not up on my Harley Quinn either. But
yeah.
she's in the Batman games, and you got to fight her at some point, and she's kind of
I
jumping around and stuff
guess I don't
there.
know.
So the Arkham games. So
I don't know. The movie is fine. It does a lot. There are a lot of things that are done in the film that I think most directors would not be able to pull off because there are certain things that are really goofy and silly, but it works for this movie.
yeah.
So if you want to watch another comic book movie about
Mhm.
comic book people doing comic book things, it's not the worst.
Dean says him and a friend ended up seeing 12 Monkeys in the theater instead of Jumanji. I saw that movie
How
way
do
too
you
young.
make that mistake?
Yeah, if you're a kid, you probably would have enjoyed Jumanji a little bit more than 12
There are
Monkeys.
monkeys in Jumanji. I actually really like the Robin Williams Jumanji.
I've only seen it once, and it was when I was working at a television station. They were running it in the afternoon, so I was watching it on like this tiny little screen, and I don't know. I didn't really care for it, but it might
Well,
be
it's a
because I was
kids
watching it.
movie. It's a
Yeah,
kids movie, and it's pretty cheap looking, even at the time it was
like that's
made.
what. Yeah, that's right.
Some of the spiders and things like that, and the CG is pretty cheap looking. But I love the concept. It's just that's like total kid imagination. You get sucked into a board game, you know.
Speaking of which, I watched Air Force One for the first time in like probably 20 years. The Harrison Ford movie.
I've never seen it, but
It's pretty much.
I think I know what you're going to talk about because there is one scene I am familiar with.
Well, it's the movie's pretty much Die Hard on an Air Force One with the president, right? The president's like fighting terrorists on his airplane. But yeah, at towards the end of the movie, and believe me, this isn't any sort of spoiler. There's a plane. The plane eventually crashes, and it's just the terrible CG. Like
it looks
really
like
bad.
PS1 era.
Yeah,
like cut
Nintendo
scenes.
64 plane going down. I'm like, wow, I can't believe this actually, made it into the theater. Like it is so bad. 7 years old watching. Oh, 8 years old. Watching 12 Monkeys and the Monkeys Never Came. Dean, my goodness. Oh my goodness. How did you get into the theater? I couldn't even get into an R-rated film.
Oh my goodness.
If it is, I'm pretty sure it's R-rated.
Wow. You think when the title comes up, you might realize, well, 8 years old. I guess.
I mean, if you were 8 and you heard, oh, we're going to watch a movie, it's called 12 Monkeys. You think you're going to be watching a movie about 12 monkeys, right? Yeah. That's what I would assume, anyways. There was a 12 Monkeys TV show for a while, too. I never watched that either. But anyways, name that show. What's that about? You got written down here, name that show.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to know if anybody else would help me on this. I'm sure I could just Google it and I'd know the answer. But
why Google?
Why Google when you got a show to do and you got to fill time?
Right.
I don't even know what I was doing yesterday. Just all of a sudden, something popped into my head. And it was the theme song to a television show that was on in the 90s. And I haven't thought about since. But for some reason, the right elements of stuff entered my brain and it clicked. You're going to think about this now. It was a TV show about a teenage girl who was half human, half alien. Her father was an alien, and they never show him on the show. Or when they do, they cover his face or he's wearing like a mask or something. His mother was human, and she had time-pausing powers. She would put her fingers together like this, and there'd be a little sparkle, and she'd freeze time, and then she would, if she touched you on your shoulder, she could take you out of time as well.
Never heard of it.
I can't think of the name of the show.
Dean says Alex Mack.
I don't know what that means. All right, Duke. All right, I knew Duke would be on board for this.
Oh yeah, I never.
There were a number of like alien people TV shows, or like I remember My Favorite Martian. That was like the 50s or 60s, and then you had like Mork and Mindy. Then there was Alf. Out of This World. Maybe that was it. Thank you, Duke. Maybe, yeah. There was some other TV show about like there were brothers that were aliens, and like if you hit one, the other one felt pain, something like that.
That's just twins in general.
Does that really happen?
Yeah.
Out of This World.
I already typed
TV
it in.
show.
So this is from 1987.
1987. Okay. Oh yeah.
1991.
4 seasons. Wow, it went that long. I would have assumed this was just like a
oh yeah, she's touching
Sunday afternoon thing.
Yeah, she's putting her fingers together.
Okay, yeah. This is it. Duke knows. Thank you, Duke.
I've never heard of this show.
I wouldn't say it's very good. I can't imagine.
I'm from Canada. We didn't
go back to this stuff, but
there was a lot of shows that and I didn't have the higher cable channel, so there was like a bunch of shows that people would talk about all the time, that like Punky Brewster. I've never seen an episode of Punky Brewster.
Punky Power.
We used to get the Punky Brewster cartoon because I think it was on
Yeah, she had
ABC
some
or-
kind of like magic gremlin or something.
Yeah. But the actual show itself, I've never seen an episode.
The only thing I remember about Punky Brewster is she goes Punky Power, and some kid hid in a refrigerator and almost died.
And then Webster, that was another show I've never seen an episode of.
Oh, Webster is good.
I've
There
never
was an
seen it.
episode. There was an episode of Webster where they thought Webster was getting it on with another kid, and they got in trouble.
Oh, jeez.
Then Webster's like 6 years old.
Burt Reynolds was not in Out of This World. You might be thinking of Evening Shade. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what Dean is thinking of, but there you go. All right. Okay. Well, there you
Mission
go. You got
complete.
your answer, just like that.
Yeah. Now I got stuff to YouTube later.
Well, as for me, what do we want to talk about first? Well, I guess we'll talk about. Well, it's because we've got everybody here before they skedaddle. I watched Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory for the first time since I was a kid. I haven't seen it since I was a kid, and let me tell you, it wasn't until the other day that I realized that the movie was called Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, because when I put the movie away, when I filed it away, I put it in the W's. When I went to look for it to actually watch it, I'm like yelling at Sarah. I'm like, "Where is my copy of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory?" I'm looking at the C's, and I got the Chappie, and I got Charlie Varick. Where's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? I swear
Charlie's
I put it away.
Angels. What else
No,
is
I
on
don't
your
have that
shelf?
one. Sorry, I don't have that one. I got Charlie Varick with Walter Matthau. Check that movie out. It's good times. But I couldn't find it. And Sarah's like, "It's Willy Wonka." I'm like, "What? What is this? That Mandela effect that people are talking about?" But apparently,
Do you know why it's called Willy Wonka instead of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory?
No clue. No.
I do know the answer to that, because when they made the movie, it was supposed to be a tie-in because they were actually producing a Wonka bar.
Right.
And they wanted to have the name Wonka in the title of the film so people would
see.
understand the connection.
I see. Well, I hadn't seen it since I was a kid, and I've been wanting to see it again. It was one of those ones that just never came up on any of the streaming services. Disney Plus didn't even have it.
Yeah, very true.
So when I was at that store with the lady, they had it there in 4K for $20, and I'm like, all right, I'm finally gonna see. Yeah, it came with a 4K copy and a Blu-ray copy. All good. So finally watched it again, and I gotta say, that movie holds up for me. I enjoyed it. I had a good time with it. I completely forgot it was a musical. When they just started singing, I'm like,
"You've got a golden ticket?
Is this a musical? Is that what's going on?" I
Totally
remember him singing that song that he sings. I'm blanking on it.
If you want to view paradise, that one.
Yeah, and then the Oompa Loompas, I remember them singing.
Oh yeah.
But I forgot that there was like other full-on songs.
Oh yeah, Veruca Salt has her "I Want It Now."
Yeah, and that's the other thing I didn't know, that because there's a band called Veruca Salt, and I'm like, Veruca
after
Salt?
that little snotty kid.
They ripped it off of this movie. Who knew? But I mean, the movie is good. It's a good movie. It's got a good message in it. The Oompa Loompas are great. But the real home run in the movie is Gene Wilder. His performance is just so fantastic. Like, just the comedy is just like spot on. Like when he comes out with that cane, and the cane is like just bending a little, and it's just such a nice big slow build up to him like getting the cane stuck in the bricks, and then everyone's looking at him, and then he starts falling over, and he flips over and like, "Hey, what's going on, everybody?" It's just brilliant, awesome.
That was Gene Wilder's idea. he wanted to do that so that from that point on, nobody would ever know if he was lying or telling the truth. Just to set up that character so perfectly.
And it's effective, like as they're going through the chocolate factory, and it's basically a fun house. If you've never seen the movie, you got to see it. It's about this guy who has his chocolate factory. He's aloof. Nobody knows who he is. Nobody knows. They just all love his chocolate. And he had some sort of problem or something like that. I can't remember what it was. Like he was losing sales or something like that, and he went like into recluse. And then he started coming up with all these chocolates, and then everybody loved them. And so he was going to open up his factory for a day, and he puts out these golden tickets in his chocolate bars, and there's only 5 of them, and that's the only way to you're going to get invited to this tour that he's going to take you through his chocolate factory. And 5 kids get tickets. They can bring one family member with them, and he takes them all through his chocolate factory, and it's like a fun house. And the entire time, like with Gene Wilder setting that up, the entire time, you like all this crazy stuff is happening, and you're never really 100% sure if what's happening is just something that's naturally happening or it's all part of his plan. Like this is stuff that he's intentionally doing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a bunch of little life lessons in there. A lot of comeuppance, and every time one of the children get their comeuppance, the Oompa Loompas come out and sing a song with a life lesson in it. It's really fun. I had a good time with it. Yeah.
You mentioned it's like a fun house. That's actually one of the lines in the movie. There's I think it's when they're stuck in like an alcove they can't get out, and someone says, "What is this, a fun house?" And he turns to her and goes, "Why, are you having fun?"
Yes.
in the way that only he can deliver it. And it's that right in between of like, are you making a joke or are you being a sarcastic jerk? Like,
yeah. Such a great role. Great performance.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Gene Wilder was something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I that is one. It's one of my favorite movies from childhood. I did get to see it in the theater at one point because they were replaying it at this old classic cinema, 20-something years ago. Unfortunately, the print that they had was missing a few scenes.
Oh.
So my favorite scene is when Charlie is in his classroom with his teacher, and he's trying to explain percentages, and they're talking about how many Wonka bars they open, and he's like, "How many did you open?" And the kid's like, "Oh, I opened 50. I opened 100. How'd you open 2?" He's like, "Okay, 200." It's like, "No, only 2." And his teacher turns to me like, "What do you mean you only opened 2? I can't figure out just 2.
Yeah.
Let's say you opened 200."
That was a great line. Yeah.
Yep. Great movie, but I need to upgrade my copy because I still have the full screen DVD version.
Oh my goodness! Boo! Terrible.
Copy.
Well, I gotta recommend the 4K version because I was a little nervous too that they were going to, because it's a very colorful movie, right? But the whole point of UHD is to not go overboard like they have on some releases, and to make it like the whole point of it is to make it more lifelike, to make it like as if you're really there. Mm-hmm. And I'm happy to report that I really enjoyed the transfer that they did to UHD. Like it's colorful, but it's not like, too overblown. It's just right. It's not too hot, not too cold, just right.
Well, if you want to see the too hot, too cold version, watch the Johnny Depp one. And that movie is garbage.
Don't even get me started on that guy, because that guy. By the way, I've been doing the Johnny Depp trial at work.
I haven't watched a single thing. I do not care. I don't care about these celebrities and their personal lives.
Listen, I am very disappointed with everybody that I work with. Because we have a number of receivers that we have at work, and every day at work when I go in to set up the trial, so it goes to a receiver and everybody in the building can see it and do whatever they need to do with it. I leave receiver A open, I leave receiver B open, and I leave receiver C open, and I intentionally put it on receiver D for Johnny Depp. And nobody's picked up on it. Nobody said anything. Very disappointed in all you people.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, that's a nice little touch, I thought.
I suppose.
I don't know.
If it were Tenacious D, something like that, maybe they'd pick up on it a little bit more.
Maybe. Hey, Steve, May 27th. Check that episode out on the Brain Train. Dean says the chocolate river was actually real chocolate. And Duke says Gene Wilder is one of his favorites. Mine too.
He's a great man.
All right. Now everybody can leave because we're going to start talking about Star Trek and the Orville.
Star Trek.
It's time to talk about Star Trek. Maybe we should have a bumper for that too. Duke, get on that. Make us a Star Trek bumper. And you got to do it without mentioning Star Wars. That's the challenge. So yeah, I'm carrying on with Strange New Worlds. I'm 3 episodes in now. 3 episodes in. And yes, it is so far it is better than Picard. So far it is better than Discovery. But those are really low bars to hop on over.
Is it better than Voyager?
Well, I'm enjoying it, I guess, more than Voyager. I'm actually watching the show. But let's see. There's Dean. Just checked. Out of This World is the show with Burt Reynolds. He's in every episode as the voice box thing.
Ooh. What? Kevin's going to have to watch this.
The voice box thing.
Let's see. Show summary characters. Burt Reynolds voice only. That's right. He plays her father.
That's it. I need the DVD box set immediately. Sarah, put that on my wish list right away. There you go. I'm going to be getting that on Christmas. I need to know about this. Look at Dean. Like, how dare I got to check this out.
Oh, he tried to hide it though.
Oh, did he? I don't know.
It says here, Burt Reynolds did voice only, but from season 2, his character was credited as himself from there onwards. So Burt Reynolds wanted his name off the project.
Knowing Burt, he probably did it as a favor to a friend. If you look in there somewhere, there's probably somebody that worked on the show that wanted him to do it. I'll find out. I'll get to the bottom of it for next episode because I know people will be wanting to know. So anyways, yes, Strange New Worlds. Good science fiction in there. I'll say that. Like they got some good ideas, which is, really the meat of Star Trek. The jury's still out on the characters though, but I'm just hoping it's like first season stumbles, as they haven't like maybe gelled together yet, because there's like a few things where they're falling on some of those modern Star Trek tropes, like people not telling each other things, and I got a secret and I can't tell you. It doesn't last like more than the episode. By the end of the episode, it kind of gets resolved, so that's a little refreshing too. That they kind of, okay, we'll work on that like going forward, but there's some stuff that just doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't make sense. And again, like you kind of wonder if the people who are writing this Star Trek show actually like Star Trek or know anything about Star Trek, because there's some things that it just doesn't make sense. Like I'll get into a little bit of spoiler stuff. I don't know if people care or whatever, but the last episode that I watched, episode 3, at the end of the episode, it turns out that the doctor, the guy who, by the way, they got to do something with that guy's accent, because I really have to strain to hear what that guy is saying. He has to enunciate when he talks. It's Star Trek. It's all jargon. I got to, anyways, this doctor is keeping his daughter, in a transporter, and keeping her buffer there because she has some sort of disease that he can't cure yet. So he puts her in the transporter and then keeps her going there. And then I'm don't spoil it for Rocket Sauce. I'm pretty sure Rocket Sauce is okay. I'm pretty sure he's okay. Look, if you don't want it spoiled, just don't listen. Like
line of the day, Kyle.
But that doesn't make any sense in the Star Trek world because every good Star Trek fan knows that when you put a human pattern into the Star Trek being, it degrades over time. You can't leave it in there. That's been like the cornerstone of so many episodes where it's
unless Scotty does it.
Now that was the exception, right? When they brought Scotty back, Scotty figured out a way to fix that or to jury rig the transporter so he could stay in a pattern buffering for like how many years. But it was a mistake, right? He only meant that they'd be in there for a little while, and by accident he was in there for like 80 years or whatever. Something that happens after like this show is a prequel to everything that happens in the next generation by 80 years. So there's no way that this doctor, who's not a transporter guy, not a transporter chief, he's a medical doctor, would have the know-how to do this. Now, he lets his daughter out once in a while, to read her a story or something like that. But still, like, this is something that would slip by a very casual Star Trek fan who just has seen a few episodes. But if you watch the series, you would know that that's something that you can't do. So that leads me to, like, are the people doing this stuff even care about Star Trek? Like, do they?
Well, it sounds like they, I don't know if they resolved this because I stopped watching it, but like the Discovery, they had that magic ship thing that they could like transport across the galaxy. They're introducing all this really high tech, but they're going back before anything like that would have happened.
Right. Well,
they find themselves stuck in the corner of like, well, why didn't Voyager have this technology and all that stuff?
Well, the idea with that was that it was experimental technology, right? It was a prototype, right? And they were experimenting with it. So I was expecting the show to go in the direction where what was it, a spore drive, what they call it, was a failure, and it was a failure, and that's why you don't see it in the other series. That's where I imagine it went. I don't know. I only watched the first season of Discovery. Couldn't get it into more than a couple episodes of the second, and then I'm out of there. So I don't know what happened with that. But this is like a transporter that they use all the time. That like it's technology. Plus, he's got her stuck in this thing on a starship where the power goes out all the time. Like if you kept your daughter in there, you would want her something more stable, like on a planet or on a space station, not in where the ship goes out all the time and it's discovering strange things that's knocking out the power all the time. It makes no sense whatsoever. So there are some good ideas. I mean, like so far they've done 3 episodes, and all 3 episodes at its core at least had some good science fiction, and they're not all snapping at each other and that they actually work together to fix problems. There is a few things like when someone has a secret and then the other person finds out the secret. Now I don't like you because of and that one person who is Noonian. So it turns out that this one person, remember when I said there was one character, I couldn't figure out if she was Noonian Singh or Noonian Sung, like if she was with Data or with Khan. Well, it turns out that she's a descendant of Khan. And for some reason, she's keeping that Noonian, is it Noonian Sung or Noonian Singh?
Khan Noonian Singh.
Singh. Okay. So for some reason, she's keeping the name. Like why? Like she's embarrassed by this thing. She's been teased her entire life because she's a Noonian Singh, and Khan is like one of the worst people in history. And he started the eugenics wars, and so why would you carry on with that name? How many Hitlers have you run across in your lifetime? How many Mussolinis have you run across in your lifetime? How many Stalins have you run around? They're out there. there are relatives of these people, but they changed their names because they don't want to have to deal with that. Why wouldn't you change your name? It makes no sense. But so I'm hoping that it gets better. I'm hoping these are just, first season stumbles, and we get to the good stuff. The captain is still good, even though his story it's starting to fall apart with this whole, like, he knows his future kind of thing. He knows what's going to happen to him, and it's starting to unravel because even in this last episode, his first officer was like challenging him. Well, do you really know what's going to happen to you? Maybe you can, change your fate. Maybe there's something that can be done. And I'm like, guys, don't screw this up. You're gonna mess up the original series if you start dicking around with this.
They're gonna create a workaround. He's not gonna end up in that chair, or if he does, he's gonna get out of it, or it's gonna be some kind of decoy, a clone or something, so he can go do something more important, and he'll just sacrifice his image for the greater good. And
yeah,
whatever.
A future plot where she has to deal with being a descendant. I think, yeah, that'd be fun. But change your name. Like, why do you have the name? It doesn't make any sense. Why would you hold on to that name?
Because people recognize it. If you don't dangle it in front of them the whole time, they'll forget.
So the other thing that's really not doing this show any sort of service whatsoever is the fact that I'm watching the Orville. I'm rewatching the Orville at the same time, and I am loving it all over again. The third season starts on June 2nd. So Sarah and I have been marathoning episodes to have the season 1 and season 2 in us again. So we're all ready for season 3. I love the show, man. It is like, it was good the first time around. Second time around, it's even better. I know people don't like Seth MacFarlane's humor, but for me, it works in this show because it plays to all their banter that they all have. Like, sometimes it's a little too much, when he's on a planet and he's calling an alien a dick and stuff like that. But it's fun. Like, it's just a fun show. All the characters are fun. I forgot how much Norm Macdonald plays this character Yaphet, which is just this blob that goes around. And I remembered him being like not in the show very much, but he plays a really big part in it. He's in quite a number of episodes. So I'm really glad for the third season they got all of his voice work in the can. So he will be in the third series, thankfully. But I'm it's so good, man. It's so good. And Strange New Worlds tries to kind of have the same thing going. Like, it tries with its humor, but it falls flat most of the time. It's not as good. So I'm stoked for that third season. And they're all on Disney Plus, and they're in 4K and UHD, and the show looks great. The uniforms look great. Everything looks great. It's all good. Good times. It is unfortunately a bit of a budget show. Like, you could tell they don't have the budget like Star Trek has. Like, when they go into the how like in Star Trek The Next Generation, even like anytime you saw wood in Star Trek, it was like this nice, real wood with the shellac on it and everything. It would just shine and glisten. When go in, the tables would have like this wood trim around it and everything. And their like version of the 10 forward in the Orville, it's like, just Formica with that fake wood stuff like taped on it. It just looks so cheesy.
They just pulled it in from their craft service area.
Yeah, they just wheeled it over. It doesn't look as good. Anytime there's like the uniforms look really good on all the main cast, but anytime there's like 2 security officers come in for one scene, like, they got like these ill-fitting uniforms on them. They're like either too baggy or a little too tight or whatever. Like, because they just got one size fits all for the background guys, kind of thing. So unfortunately, you got the budget to deal with, but I only got 10 minutes. Oh my goodness. Anyways, good show. Do you have access to the Orville over there?
Nope. No, I definitely would have watched it. The amount of times I've heard people talk about it. Even though, I am a little nervous about the Seth MacFarlane humor,
Yeah, I
but
don't know.
I've heard so many good things, so
Yeah, I
I
can't
would check it
guarantee
out.
that you'll like it. Like maybe the Seth MacFarlane humor will turn you off, but I feel it works. Like I just try because I've been watching the show and I saw there was an episode of Family Guy on, so I tuned into the middle of some episode and I watched like maybe 2 minutes of it, and I was like, oh man, this this is just not working for me.
Hmm.
So I don't know what it is about that show. Like his humor just works really well for me in that show, but I don't know those cartoons. Like I liked a couple of seasons of Family Guy, but then it just kind of got off course,
Yeah, it was
if
one of
you will.
those Family Guy. In one episode, I'd see the good points, but then I'd also see the bad points. And I was like,
Yeah, yeah. Well, they really changed a lot of characters on Family. Like Brian used to be like just the guy that would come, like guy. He was a dog that would come in and just basically support Peter Griffin in story A, and then all of a sudden, like it was like he kind of took over the show there for a while. I don't know. It's a little too much, but yeah, Orville, good times. He writes all the episodes too. There's only like a handful of episodes that he hasn't written. Like that's season 1. There's 12 episodes, and I think he wrote like 9 or 10 of them. And the rest are a couple of, like Family Guy writers or whatever. And you can kind of tell like when he's not writing an episode, it's a little bit different. But
yeah. Well, it's nice if you've got that creative voice,
yeah.
guiding the ship.
Well, and you could tell he's a Star Trek fan. He's really like
He was in an
into
episode of Star Trek. He was maybe
Enterprise,
in
right?
Voyager or
No, it
Enterprise.
was Enterprise.
Enterprise, yeah. He was just
Yeah.
like a background guy.
Well, there was a rumor for a while. He was actually gunning to take over Star Trek, to take over the franchise.
Really?
And yeah, and it just didn't work out with Paramount. But I'm glad I'm kind of glad that this show kind of got made too. And he's done like it's not like it's a rip off of Star Trek, but like there's a few things that are different. Like there's no transporters in the show, which is good because the transporters always kind of the writers kind of put themselves in a corner with the transporter, right? Because they'll be stuck on a planet or something like that. It's like, why don't they just use the transporter to get them out? So they got to come up with like an ion storm. There's always an ion storm in the way that they can't beam them out because there's another ion storm, or the tetractic particles in the atmosphere is interfering with the transporter beam. They always got to come up with some reason. So with no transporters, only shuttlecrafts to get around, it kind of adds to the tension. So
That's what they tried to do with Enterprise, but they did work the
but they felt,
transporter in of it.
yeah,
Like,
I thought that was a great, like when I heard the concept for Enterprise that there was going to be no transporter, this is what they said: there's going to be no transporters, and we're going to be relying on hooks and cables. I thought that sounds pretty cool. Like, they're going to rely on hooks and
they
cables.
started like that, but then it was basically, well, this is Star Trek. Where's the Star Trek stuff?
Yeah.
Put Star Trek in the name now. Use transporters.
Right. Side note: Kyle says he's got to watch season 1 of Only Murders in the Building. They got a new season starting in June. I didn't know that. That's another show that's absolutely on my list that I need to watch. And yeah, I do need real
Murders in the
people.
Building.
Yeah, that's the show with Martin Short and Steve Martin and Selena Gomez.
Okay.
It's on one of the streaming services. I don't know which one, but yes, Transporter is how you get to the mirror universe. And honestly, outside of the next the original series episode with the mirror universe, I hate any time. I hated all those episodes of Deep Space Nine when they got
they did a lot with that one. I was never a big fan of those.
I would skip, like, if I was to watch Deep Space Nine again, if I see Mirror Universe, I'm skipping that episode, getting right on to the good stuff, because like the Next Generation had it right. They did not touch that Mirror Universe at all, because they knew that was just like it's too much. It's just too much. It was fun for the original series because it was a fun concept, Spock with the goatee, and the little arc that evil Spock has in the Mirror Universe. It was good. It was just good for that episode. But anytime they just
Well,
go back.
they did something similar in the Next Generation, but it wasn't the mirror universe. It was I forget how it came about, but it was it's the one they would use that clip of Picard for commercials all the time, where he does that speech.
Whistle?
Let's make sure history never forgets the name Enterprise. But he's got like the dark uniform on when he's doing that. That's the one where Tasha Yar was back. It was like they
Oh
were
yeah,
like
yeah,
in
yeah,
the
yeah,
evil Federation.
yeah. They did toy with that
They,
stuff,
you know,
but
they
yeah,
didn't do the mirror universe, but it
yeah,
was essentially that same concept.
yeah. Voyager did not have any mirror universe either. I don't remember Voyager ever doing mirror universe, but that would be kind of
Voyager,
weird. They'd have to be out in the Delta Quadrant somewhere. Some mirror universe Voyager would have to be stuck out in the Delta Quadrant, wouldn't it?
nah, they just did Q and the Borg.
Yeah. Oh man, wow! Don't even get me started on that board because I've been watching the Red Letter Media updates on the Picard show. And, oh my god, it's
Oh yeah.
the last episode. The Red Letter Media guys dressed up as clowns just to talk about Picard.
Yeah, I did see that one.
I thought it was funny. I know Bill gets all upset. You're letting them dictate your opinion when I actually disagree with them
What's
all
the
the
deal
time.
with Bill and them? What property
Because
that
they
he
insult
enjoys did they dump on?
they insult his show, they insulted his toys, they insult his whatever, and he doesn't like it. And you got you got to get over the fact that other people don't like the same things you don't like, and it's not an attack on you. I'm talking to everybody, not just Bill. If somebody else doesn't like something, it's not an attack on you. They just don't like it. It's fine if you like it. Go ahead and like it, like the thing. But somebody saying they don't like it doesn't mean that everybody's stupid who watches it, unless it's Full House. Everybody who watches Full House is stupid. No, I'm kidding. If you like it, that's your thing. Maybe you got a busy job. Maybe you're like really busy and you just want to, you just want something light. So you come home and you just want something light and you want to watch Full House. You want to watch Cut It Out. That's your thing. That's all you want. You're sitting there and you're waiting for that guy to do Cut It Out. Dave Coulier. That's fine. It's fine. But if somebody else doesn't like Full House and you like it, they're not attacking you. Not attacking you. If somebody, only watches one episode of Full House and says, I'm going to stop here because I understand what this show is and I don't really need to see every episode of Full House. I just don't need to see it all. I get it with one episode. That's fine too. It's okay. You don't need to stick right to the end. Now just take that speech, substitute Full House for Star Trek Discovery or Picard, and it's the same thing. There you go. New Borg now. Yeah, it's terrible. I don't get that show at all.
Borg.
Don't get it. Look at that. We're down to one viewer. Only Kyle is left. Everybody else is gone because like these guys are going on about Star Trek again.
Back to the Star Trek.
All right. Thanks everybody for listening, watching, whatever you're doing in the chat. We had Kyle, we had Sarka Sim, we had Dean, we had, I think I saw Scotch on the Rocks here. I got Kings, lots of people. We had lots of interaction.
Kings
Mike was here.
Tons of people right at the beginning.
Duke was big time. Well, it's a long weekend here, so maybe people were just
comments.
winding down. Check us out, our Discord. Lots of fun stuff happening over there. We were talking about Will Ferrell and Adam Sandler movies over there, so that was good. That was good discussion. Still going on with that. I'm still trying to figure out who I like better. Keep tuned in because eventually there'll be a complete showdown on who's better, Adam Sandler or Jim Carrey. That's who it was, Jim Carrey. And I'm just, Richard's going to be enthralled with that conversation. It's going to be so good. And then you can also check us out on Twitter at retro_Fandango. That's it. The show's done. We're good. Kyle corrects me and says Jim Carrey. Yes, it was Jim Carrey.
All right.
Usually we end up with a joke, but I guess we got nothing. So
Cut it out. There you go.
I can end on that. Sure. I will hit end broadcast.